Good evening. Hundreds of flowers and personal messages have been left for the two teenagers who were killed while out running in Aldershot. Lucy Piggott and Stacey Burrows should have been training tonight. Instead, their families, friends and teammates are struggling to come to terms with their deaths. The driver, arrested on suspicion of drink driving, has been released on bail. Mel Blore sends this from the scene.
Well, here at the scene of the crash today, an incredibly moving collection of flowers and cards, dozens and dozens of bouquets, as you can see, and even a couple of running shirts have been tied to the railings behind me. Some of the people I've been speaking to have told me they didn't even know the girls, but they've been so affected by what's happened, they just felt the need to come here and leave flowers. So a real outpouring of grief from the whole community. Let me read you some of the messages left. One says, "Your departure we cannot comprehend. Your talents a loss to all." Another says, "Wonderful girls, wonderful friends, amazing teammates." Now, as we know, the girls were part of Aldershot, Farnham and District's Athletics Club and were here training at the military stadium on Tuesday night when the accident happened. As a mark of respect, the training that was due to take place this evening has been cancelled. There's also a Twitter campaign that's been started encouraging athletes right across the country taking part in competitions this weekend to wear black ribbons. Now, you may remember yesterday we heard from Lucy's family. They issued a statement paying tribute to her. Stacey's family too upset and understandably unable to comment just yet. Well, the latest from police is that the driver who was arrested at the scene on suspicion of drink driving has now been released on bail and is due to return in February.
Mel Blore reporting there. In other news tonight, a 52-year-old man from Worthing, arrested on suspicion of murdering two women, has been released on police bail until February. Caroline Devlin, who was 35, was found dead at a house on Cranworth Road 10 years ago. Suzanne Nicholson, who was 52, was found at a house on Rowlands Road in 2011. The arrest comes after new forensic information has been found. A man has been arrested after a woman was sexually assaulted at a flat in Bournemouth. The woman, who was in her 30s, met a man at the Exchange Bar in the Triangle in the early hours of Sunday. They walked to a nearby flat where she claims she was attacked. Following a police appeal, a 25-year-old man from Verwood has come forward and been arrested on suspicion of rape. A takeaway owner has been fined more than £6,000 and banned from running a food business for 6 months. Inspections at the new Lotus takeaway on Dyke Road in Brighton found grime on the floors, food kept next to chemicals and stored at the wrong temperature. Now, it's the first wind farm to be built off the south coast, and for the past 10 months, people in Sussex have watched it expanding along the horizon. Environmental campaigners say with temperatures rising, green energy projects like this one are vital. The first major milestone has just been completed, and Andy Dickinson has taken to the water to see how things are progressing.
It's a vision of the future until now unseen up close by the public. The Rampion wind farm, 8 miles off the shoreline, a £1.3 billion engineering challenge to deliver clean energy.
Offshore construction is always a challenge. Obviously, safety is critical. I've been working in renewables for 15, 16 years now. I'm very passionate about climate change. It's critical that we think of ways to generate electricity from clean, green, renewable resources and to keep the lights on. So yes, it's an exciting time for me personally. It's an exciting time for the team.
And now, in the last few days, the last of these monopile foundations has been set into the seabed. This giant floating rig transforming the horizon, ships laying and burying the cables between them. While some may protest its visual impact, experts believe farms like these are now vital. Without them, the country unlikely to meet its carbon emissions targets, the world already facing temperature rises of 3 degrees centigrade, far above those set in the Paris Climate Agreement.
Rising sea levels in terms of more and more disasters, rain, droughts, disastrous consequences for the livelihoods of millions of peoples around the world. So this is really a key policy issue that we need to tackle now.
With the weather closing in, the turbine towers themselves, all 116 of them, will begin construction in the spring. The farm due to start generating electricity in 2018. Andy Dickinson, ITV News, Brighton.
Well, the Brighton and Hove Labour Party, which was suspended amid allegations of intimidation and ballot rigging, could be split into 3 local parties. The move could mean an end to the suspension, but leading members of the hard left group Momentum say they'll refuse to work with a steering committee of officers being imposed by the National Party.
Our problem seems to be we just have too many members who turned up and voted for supporters of Jeremy Corbyn. People like me, people like Mark Sundell, both of whom have been ruled off the pitch. Mark has been expelled, I have been suspended, we're not on the steering committee, whereas people who've got no connection with the city are on this 19-member steering committee.
More than 100 acres of the South Downs is being sold off by Brighton and Hove City Council, which has angered environmental campaigners. Money from the sale of the land, which is around 1% of the 10,000 acres in public ownership, will be spent on the restoration of Stanmer Park and services for local people. And finally tonight, a fascinating insight into our past has been provided by an exhibition in London. It showcases hundreds of maps, each one crucial in shaping important events in history, from the wars to our transport system and even fashion, as Phil Hornby explains.
It might not look like the front line in the Cold War until you see this. A map of Brighton and Hove, Soviet style. Amazing detail, street by street, pier by pier.
It's a military map of Brighton. We looked very closely and we can see it's a wonderfully detailed map. We have individual buildings for the first time really in a map of this scale shown. It was military intelligence.
The scale of the map collection at the British Library is mind-blowing. They have 4.5 million of them. 200 of the most interesting are on show for the next few months, including this, the first sketch of what was to become the London Tube map, drawn mainly in pencil. From the mundane, the new Oxford Relief Road in the early 60s, to the magical 100-acre wood, Winnie the Pooh's playground.
The map is based on Ashdown Forest in Sussex, where A.A. Milne lived nearby to, and so we include the map in the British Library's exhibition to show how even imaginary maps have a mixture of reality in them.
There are train maps here. This a tourism poster from a supremely confident British Railways, alongside a map of the beaching cuts in the 60s. All the lines in black were for the chop. War looms large here. This is one of the incredibly detailed maps produced by the British at the time of the Falklands War to help our forces retake the islands. The Malvinas, the Argentinians call them. Their map of the Falklands is here too. And in 1914, when war seemed like a game and it would all be over by Christmas, a competition from the Financial Times. Sketch in the new boundaries according to how you think Europe will look at the end of the war, and the person who comes closest wins £25. And how about this? A map you can wear. When material for clothes was in short supply at the end of World War II, some enterprising frock makers realised there was a whole load of wartime maps made of silk that would do the trick. Even though your sat-nav asks you to type in address, it'll never come up with anything as amazing as this. Phil Hornby, ITV News, London.
Now, what's the weather have in store over the next few days? With the details, here's Simon.
From sleet to the slopes, driving through Europe. Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
Good evening, and yes, it is certainly a bed socks night tonight with some very chilly conditions to take us into tomorrow. Tomorrow itself, not too bad a day, dry and fine, but it will turn wet and windy overnight, and that means the start of the weekend is looking a bit less good. All to do with a weather front sitting out to the west just now, slowly creeping towards us through tomorrow. Won't really arrive until overnight into Saturday, and then we'll wake up to a wet and windy spell of weather. But once that's cleared through the rest of Saturday, and indeed Remembrance and Sunday are looking dry and fine, if a little on the cloudy side. For tonight, it's clear skies, and that's why it's so nippy. Those strong winds of today certainly easing down, and that means we are going to see temperatures well around freezing in some rural spots. There'll be a widespread frost, there'll also be a bit of patchy mist and fog as well. So a bit of windscreen scraping to be done first thing tomorrow morning, but a fine start to a fine Friday. You can see from the breaks in the cloud there will be plenty of autumnal sunshine. It'll stay dry. Sunshine turning a bit hazy into the afternoon, but at least the winds are light, although there will still be a chilly feel as we head through the day, with temperatures not really getting into double figures anywhere.
Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
That is all from us for tonight. We are back during Good Morning Britain from 6 tomorrow morning. But from me and from all of us here on the late team tonight, thanks for your company. Good night.